What is up, guys, and welcome back once again to another episode of the Ebby Space Agency journey here on Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. We're here for episode number 22 today, and we're fresh off the back of episode 21, where we brought the Duna crew back from the North Pole where they were undergoing training, and we also began our fuel production to fuel up the craft that is going to take them to the Red Planet in a few weeks' time. We jump over to Minmus then, to the facility that is actually producing that fuel, or more importantly, the ore that then gets refined into that fuel, and it is ready for another shipment into our orbiting refinery station above Minmus. So the automated ferry craft for the ore takes off without much fanfare. It's controlled by the pilot on board the mining station, nice and remotely, and docks with fair ease onto the solar arm, with the pipes leading to the ore containment tanks, as you see in the middle of your screen there. And we're transferring all that ore now to be refined into more fuel. The ferry craft then obviously undocks and makes its way back to the surface. This isn't the first time they've done this. They know roughly what they're doing, and it gets back down with pretty routine maneuvers at this point, and then obviously drives back to reattach, ready to receive more mined minerals from the station. And that is going to continue on in the background, continuously making more fuel to then ship down to the orbiting waiting Duna 1 ship. But on the ground then, back on Kerbin, we have another job. We are getting the landing rights to Mida Naval Air Station then, located way off to the north west of the KSC. We take our Scuff Airlines workhorse aircraft to go and secure those rights, meet up with the business Kerbals, and we're on approach for landing now.
40, 30, 20, 10.
So with the plane landed, we take a look around the base, and it looks like a really good facility. I do really enjoy the given aircraft of purpose and the Kerbin side airfields that are added around. They all have a fairly unique feel to them, and they are great fun to look at. But we then secure the rights, take off, and fly back home. And we once again have another airfield that we can work out of, should we need to. Back up in orbit of Minmus then, the fuel that we dropped, the ore that we dropped off has now been turned into fuel, and it's now time for the transit craft to collect the fuel tanks and bring it back down once again to low Kerbin orbit to try and fuel up the Duna 1 ship. This should be one of the last fuel runs that we have to do before the ship is fully fueled up. And it means the day is fast approaching then. That we are going to be sending Jeb, Bill, and Bob on their way to the Red Planet. We see they're just docking with the fuel port, the base of the main fuel tank there, transferring all the liquid fuel across. And you see we are actually pretty much hitting full fuel on all of these tanks. So yeah, with that done, the ship is fully ready to go. No more stalling. All we need to do now is design ourselves a transfer ship, send the crew up, and they are ready to man that ship, basically. First things first, though, obviously we're going to undock the fuel ship, send that back to Minmus. Just because this ship is fully fueled does not mean that its job is done. We are still going to be producing fuel in the background for future missions, should we need it. I mean, the docking process for this was fairly straightforward, but obviously en route, we actually then reach the transfer window for Duna. So it is now time to start sending the infrastructure and the crew over to the Red Planet. And you see here we have designed a ship ready to launch in just a second. And you guys are going to see what is about to go up into space. Fuel on it. Let's find out, I suppose. And yeah, it's quite a wide payload, this, as you can see by the fairing there. So I was a little bit nervous on the launch that it was gonna sort of add too much drag, but thankfully we get up high enough in the atmosphere that by the time we do need to start pitching over and get that sort of lateral movement, we were coming up against like 0 air resistance, and we got ourselves up into space nicely here. Yeah, from there, it's just a case of setting up a transfer to Duna. We've done this before with the probes, but this is the first launch of this mission that we're sending. And yeah, we begin the burn. Lovely blue coming out of those that upper stage engine, thanks to the waterfall mod. And we eventually get our transfer. And now we're going to go ahead and pop the hoods to see what exactly it is that this thing is hauling. And there it is, guys. It is the rover base that we've designed. We sent a variant of this up to the North Pole, but it is en route to hopefully be there on the ground, ready to go for when the Duna 1 crew arrive in orbit. But that's not the only thing we're sending up in support of this mission. We are also going to be sending up a relay satellite, just to make sure that we do retain control over that automated launch for the base. You see here, we think about sort of just a standard relay, but then we realize there may be a cause to try and add more fuel and supplies to this Duna 1 craft, right? And obviously with the docking port being quite sort of compact in between the 4 nuclear engines, we add that sort of truss there, basically to make it easier to dock with. So this is going to stay in orbit around Duna. But it is also going to be sat there as sort of an emergency resupply probe should we need it. Obviously, this is our first time going to Duna. We want to make sure that we're safe, right? If we do end up with any kind of shortage of fuel, supplies, or anything like that, then, you know, it's going to be multiple years before we can get a rescue probe over there to sort of help the guys out. So having this in position, ready to go beforehand, is going to be much more prudent, I think. And that's why I was kind of launching this. Again, quite a sort of bulbous fairing, but yeah, luckily we do manage to get it into orbit with well, I say with relative ease. There was like a sneaky couple of revert to launches here, but yeah, we do eventually get this thing into orbit. The last thing we need though is like I said, the crew to get stranded, because they only have a finite amount of life support on board. If they're waiting multiple years for rescue, then they may run out, which is why we are launching this in the way that it is. So its primary purpose is as a relay satellite for the probes. However, it's we figured we'd double up the resources and the sort of mission, shall we say? Because I mean, why not, right? It was kind of a spur-of-the-moment decision, but honestly, it's not one that I regret. And the good thing is, even if we don't use this here for this mission, future missions can also rely on it later on down the line, because it is going to stay in orbit of Duna, right? Once we put it in orbit, it's a relay satellite, right? We're not going to need to move it around at all. So, yeah, it's kind of an insurance policy as well for future missions. Back closer to home then, the fuel transfer ship for the Minmus refinery is returning back to its home station, and yeah, it goes about sorting out the fuel tanks on its own this time. We do have enough monopropellant to make that happen, and we don't need to resort to using the space tug docked to the bottom of the station. Yeah, I mean, you see here, it's sped up, but it's fairly straightforward placing the tanks back. I do really like the fact that we've got a docking port front and rear on this thing. It makes everything sort of a lot easier in terms of moving those tanks around. Finally, then, it is time to get our crew on board the Duna 1. And you see here, we're just designing a fairly low-budget, low-tech transfer ship, right? It doesn't need to be anything particularly sort of shiny or technologically advanced. Its only job is to go up into low Kerbin orbit for a couple of hours, transfer crew, and then come on home. So you see, we're not even going to be sticking any boosters to this thing. All we're doing is just it's going to go under its own power with I think that's one of the mainsail engines there. It's got 3 days worth of life support. It is absolutely fine. But we did realize at the time we do not have enough crew. We have our crew on board the Minmus mining base, and we have our Duna crew ready to go. But we are running quite short on engineers. So we hire Steldrin Kerman there in the astronaut complex. Her application was approved. We didn't pluck this one from space. This is a homegrown Kerbanaut, and she's going to be the flight engineer alongside Dude Min Kerman for the launch. And yeet. Now we need to really hightail this. And yeah, so take off from the pad fairly easy. You sit here there, we're saying hightail it. Basically, we realized the thruster weight wasn't as good, and we did time the launch so that, you know, the Duna 1 was passing somewhat nearby, so we had to speed things up. You see there, we're kind of looking at a massive weather system off to the south of the KSC there. Yeah, those are probably the biggest one I've seen for the volumetric clouds mod. But yeah, we spend a little bit more time getting into orbit. You got the I can't remember what they're called. I think they're the Twitch engines down at the bottom of the ship there. Very small, but 4 of them provides enough thruster weight to still get us into orbit. Just took a bit of a longer burn. From there, then, it's just a case of setting up a rendezvous with the Duna 1. A couple of 100 meters a second of Delta V needed, but we've got plenty on board, right? We've still got about 1.5 kilometers. But yeah, you see the Duna 1 is behind us, playing catch-up at the moment. And yeah, eventually we do get nearby the ship. We just have to make the burn here. Again, it takes quite a while with these smaller engines, but we're in space. And you see the Duna crew there just chilling in the hitchhiker module, resting before they've got a man and you know, fly a ship for themselves for the next year or so. But yeah, eventually we do rendezvous with the Duna 1. You see it approaching there just to the right of the ship, just below it now on your screens. And yeah, we nearly fly right on by. We have to hit the brakes real quick, and we kind of just, I think we decide we don't really want to spacewalk too far over, so we just burn towards the ship and wait for it to come on by. And then yeah, Jeb, Bill and Bob are going to currently prepping to go on EVA, ready to transfer over. Now, unfortunately, there's no docking port available on the transfer ship to sort of dock with the ship, and even if they had one, the chances are we wouldn't be able to get the nose of the actual command module there into the docking port. So, yeah, Jeb, Bill, and Bob are going to have to EVA over to take up their new home in the stars, basically. And yeah, I will say ahead of time, I didn't realize that with the free IVA mod and the station parts expansion mod, that there was like a compatibility mod as well. So the station parts mod, as it is, guys, if you download that and you want to run free IVA in it, you also have to download the IVAs for the station parts. So I jump in here and yeah, you just see a black screen because there is no IVA file. I am gonna say now that after this episode, I think it's after this episode, I do actually go away and download that. So eventually we will get to have a look around the ship as we've designed it on the inside, but sadly it's not going to be today, guys. So from there we just transfer Bill to the command module, and then yeah, we do the same with Jeb and Bob once they get in. But right now Bill is just setting everything on, turning all the lights on, getting the coffee brewing, and making sure all the life support systems are functional before the others come across. And then finally he's just going to go ahead and inflate those habitation modules. Next then, it's going to be Jeb's turn to jump across. He is the pilot after all. He sent the engineer ahead of time just to make sure that he's not going to die while he gets the spacecraft set up. and floats on over. Yeah, we do cross into the night side now, so unfortunately, yeah, we don't get too much of a look at the outside of the ship, but thankfully the lights on that Bill has already turned on kind of acts like a bit of a beacon there for Jeb to float on across before transferring. And then the last person to come along into their new home then is Bob, the scientist for the mission. His job doesn't really tend to begin until they set down around the they'll at the very earliest circularizing around Duna to start getting some data. But really, his job is primarily going to be Duna surface based, right? That's why these guys are going over there. The short bus transfer then does turn around, burn retrograde, and return home. Steldrin having completed her first successful mission for the agency, and Dude Ming as well, fairly junior member of the roster, piloting this transfer ship back. Parachutes deploy. They splash down in the ocean. Nothing really out of the ordinary on this landing. A little bit of weather, but yeah, just a little bit of rain, nothing too crazy. So these guys are probably going to bounce around in the ocean for a little bit until they're recovered. But yeah, they are now safe and sound back home. Back up in orbit then, it is now time to start plotting our maneuvers for heading off to Duna, right? This is what we've been working towards for the past few episodes, and yeah, it's all coming together. We set ourselves up with a transfer burn, and we're about ready to go. Don't be fooled by the red fuel bar, guys. The only reason why that is red is because we haven't turned all the fuel tanks on. All the pumps are still switched off, and we need to make sure that we get the fuel flowing, and then you see it turns nice, and that nice sort of yellowy green color, showing that we've got fuel for the burn. So let's go. Firing up. So yeah, the burn, it takes a fair amount of time, to be honest. It's about a 7-minute burn. So those nuclear engines, firstly, they sounded a bit janky there. I don't know what was going on with Waterfall, but they sounded alright. But we essentially ended up having to break the burn down into a couple of attempts, right? Trying to sort of maximize the burn at periapsis, utilize that O-berth effect, so that we could make the burn as efficiently as possible. We've kind of loosely planned how much fuel we have for this mission. We're not going to be aero braking at Duna or anything like that because the ship's not exactly durable enough for that. So we need to maximize our efficiency here because we're going to be relying on the engines for every part of it. So we ended up breaking down the burn into 3 different parts. What you're seeing now is the end of the 3rd attempt, where we do then eject ourselves from Kerbin orbit, and yeah, we continue on our way. After that, then we are sort of on a sort of course correction there, just after leaving the sphere of influence, just to make sure that the approach is as nice and close as we can get it. You see there, we're dropping the periaps down. Again, trying to use the O-berth effect so that we can hit the brakes as effectively as possible. And yeah, we set ourselves up with an alarm clock to tell us when we approach. You see the relay sat approach us first, followed by the rover base, and then the Duna 1. So everything has been sort of timed so that it arrives in the logical order, so that the guys can just arrive and head down to the surface and get underway without having to wait for any other infrastructure. It also means that if there's any scrubs with any of the other missions, that we can almost set ourselves up and prep the guys ahead of time so that they know, okay, we're gonna, they'll have to wait in orbit until the return, or something similar like that, right? But for now, guys, we're going to see how all that unfolds in future episodes. That is the end of this one, and as always, it's been good. We've finally set off for Duna, guys. We are starward bound, and it's exciting times here at the Ebby Space Agency. Even if the weather is maybe a little bit miserable, the mood definitely isn't. But for now, guys, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.